Hey, this is Derek Jordan. Welcome to the World Fusion Show, where we bring you the leading innovators in world fusion music. Today, I'm joined by Randy Armstrong, who is a longtime world fusion dude. He's been on the scene for a long time, and he is a composer and multi-instrumentalist. Welcome, Randy Armstrong, to the World Fusion Show.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Derek.
I'm so glad we could do this. And you are an old-time member of the World Fusion Tribe. Uh, really one of the first, groups that was really doing this. Back in the 70s, I think, right? You
Yes.
started? Yeah. With Ken LaRoche doing a group called DOA, which is famous in world fusion.
Yeah, we began in 1974. I met Ken in 73 when I moved from Ohio to New Hampshire. And we spent 17 years touring all around the country and around the world in many places, India, Canada, other spots. And that was the beginning of our collaboration and moving into world fusion music.
Yeah. So you were born in, you said Appalachia,
Yes.
West Virginia.
I, I was born in Elkins, West Virginia, which is famous for the Augusta festival there, which is old timey and blues and bluegrass music. Uh, and my earliest recollections is listening to the old time music that my uncles and cousins would be playing. Um, at about age 5, my parents separated, and I ended up moving to Columbus, Ohio, where I spent my uh, early days and school days through high school and the beginnings of college. And so that was very influential time in my life.
Yeah, I bet. Now, you don't really do bluegrass anymore, but I know you play a lot of instruments. You are a true multi-instrumentalist. Tell us about the different instruments you play.
Well, I play, I have a collection of over 300 instruments from around the world. You can kind of see some in the background that
Sure.
are hanging on the walls. They completely circumambulate this entire room, which is just a small project room. And then my house is just filled with many different instruments from around the world.
Yeah.
Uh, that's been an exploration that I began in the 70s, spawned by listening to such groups and people like Babatunde Olatunji, listening to Paul Winter Consort in those early days. And that all led me into wanting to explore really the incredible sounds and diversity on this planet. I think one of the things I wanted to mention is that in my high school, it was one of the very first busing schools in America in Columbus,
Mm.
Ohio. And through that experience, that interracial experience of going on tour, playing in interracial bands, playing in the South, Midwest, during the height, during the 60s, when that corridor from going from Detroit all the way down to Tennessee, there was so much music going on. It really started my development of appreciation of many different styles of music, from
Yeah.
jazz to bluegrass and playing with and playing R&B and those kinds of things.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
so those things are very important, including the assassination of Martin Luther King when I was a junior in
Right.
high school, and then uh, Neil Armstrong walking on the moon, and
Right.
those first iconic photos of the Earth floating in space just opened up my mind to thinking there's a lot more going on than what I was experiencing in just this country.
There sure
And
is.
that took me on this
You're.
journey
It's
that
interesting
continues
because
to this day, you
your
know?
your your music room behind you looks a lot like my music room.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about that, and
Yeah,
I said, oh, I bet you it
I've
looks
got a
very
crap load
similar.
of instruments as well that I've been collecting over the years from all over the world, Africa. And so you play flute, you play guitar, you play sitar, mbira. Um,
Yes.
Anything else?
And I have quite a lot of other instruments. Right now, I've been spending a lot of time with South African marimbas, which I had a set built when I went on tour in South Africa in 2018, just before COVID, and had them shipped over and started Randy Armstrong and World Beat Marimba, which is kind of my side project, which has been a blast, as well as balafon and, a lot of instruments, Fujian and from China. And
djembe, you also play djembe, I know. And
djembe, yes. I taught.
So we're going to go to our first video. Please introduce it for us, Baji.
Baji is a song that appears on the Unumando Hand in Hand album as an ensemble, but it's been recorded in several different versions, including solo. Baji was inspired by my travels and pilgrimage to Israel and to Jerusalem and to Haifa, Israel. Baji is a beautiful spot, a sacred spot for the Baha'i faith, and it inspired the introductions to this song. I think what you've selected is something that's been inserted in the original, which is some looping that I'm doing and then improvising over that, which has happened over the last decade.
That's great. Let's go to the video right now.
All right.
composer and multi-instrumentalist in the world fusion genre. A long time practitioner of world fusion music. Now, what would you say were your main influences and inspirations in music in your life?
Well, I would probably say that the influences of Babatunde Olatunji and a number of master drummers that I studied with, as well as Peter Rowe, who was the provost at New England Conservatory. I studied sitar with them very early on. And then I've always continued my studies. And I think that listening to all of the artists that were coming out of ECM records out of Europe and was very influential on the way that I started thinking as a composer and as an improviser. Paul Winter Consort, I was very enamored with their beautiful albums, as well as Oregon and some of those early works of fusing world music with jazz. It's almost too numerous to mention, but among the Afro pop, I mean, opened for groups like King Sunny Ade, Eddie Palmieri shared the stage with these people, and that was very influential in the way I began thinking of music.
So we are going to go to our next video, which is a song called Tribute, and you're playing it on solo guitar. Please introduce that for our audience.
Well, Tribute was originally written in the early 80s as a tribute to all people who sacrificed to stand up against prejudice in the world. It was originally written by and performed by Doa World Music Ensemble when we expanded to a quintet. And the song itself has the influences of music of the Middle East, capoeira, the introduction. I'm hitting my guitar like a berimbau. It has influences of J.S. Bach and counterpoint, as well as North Indian music with the rags and the tal. And I think in the one section, I'll be playing in japtal while I do some hammer-on pull-offs.
Yeah.
And so the piece is very world music, and the guitar itself is tuned more like a sitar than it is a guitar.
That's great. Let's go to the video right now.
All right.
with Randy Armstrong. Now, Randy, you told me you did a wonderful tour in India in 1986. I'd love you to share that with our audience.
Yes, in 1986, it was the International Year of Peace, dedicated to the United Nations, and Doha dedicated all of the concerts during that year to the cause of peace on earth. And one of the things that we got to do was go to India for the dedication of the Baha'i Temple in Delhi, India. And while we were there, we had a tour and performances. One significant one was at Indira Gandhi Stadium, and met Kevin LaRoche, who had just passed away at a relatively young age, an incredible Lakota person who was playing the Lakota flute, and he was also doing the hoop dance for the unity of the human race. Very influential on me. Now, I was playing with Ken LaRoche at the time, who was a master flute player. But later on, when Kenny and I finished our kind of sojourn together, I started studying and learning about the Native American flute. And I acquired a number of them and met Kevin LaRoche in British Columbia at a conference. He gave me my first lessons on how to play the instrument. And then it was history, and it just continued on. I've used this flute because it's such a beautiful, deep flute. Many people play it. I do not claim that I am playing traditional Native American music because I improvise. I use it almost like a musical prayer. I was asked by the Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra to join them as an artist in residence back in 2017-18 for their season. And one of the performances that they were having was Grieg's piano concerto. And the pianist wanted to have a really beautiful introduction with using the Aurora Borealis. And so I created a film and a soundscape. The orchestra is creating all these sounds, nature sounds and everything you'll hear. And I used one of my Lakota flutes, and I took several of the motifs from the Grieg, but it's still in that Native American style.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And so let's go and watch this video right now. Armstrong. Randy, I wanted to just ask you about, current projects you're working with and what you're excited about right now.
Well, right now I'm in the studio, and probably through the winter this year, I'm going to be doing another solo album, guitar oriented, but with a lot of world music influences and instruments also. Side project is the Randy Armstrong and World Beat Marimba album that we're finishing up. And that came out of a tour to South Africa. And it was with 200 women from called Voices from the Heart, and saw and heard these beautiful marimbas there. Had a commission of those being made and shipped back to the United States. Other projects is just recently performed with Beyond Borders with my music partner, Volker Narman, with a number of fantastic musicians, Jose Duque from Venezuela, Irini from Greece, Charlie Jennison, a great jazz saxophone player, Theo Marte of the Aquaba Ensemble with Namari Keita from Guinea and Ghana, respectively. And we had a great show just recently at the Music Hall. So continuing on the exploration of world music and combining it with jazz and other influences. And I think that the piece that you're going to be showing next is a song that was written for my score of the Mahabharata, which is the epic poem of India, and for Phillips Exeter Academy back in 2015. It was then reorchestrated for the Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra during my artist in residency. And it will also feature Marty Quinn on tabla, as well as the orchestra itself. And I'll be playing sitar.
That's right, you're playing sitar, yet
Yes.
another instrument that we get to feature. All right, let's go to this video right now. say, hey, it is Derek Jordan, and I'm with Randy Armstrong. Just want to say, Randy, thank you so much for joining us today on the World Fusion Show. It's been great to have you share your diverse music and all the instruments you play and give us a glimpse of all the very long time work you've done in the world fusion genre.
Well, it's great to be with you, Derek, and I do hope that someday we can do this live and do some jamming together. I'm very interested in all the people that you have had in your show. Is amazing, and I really appreciate you having me on there. And if anybody wants to know more about what I do, there's always randyarmstrong.com, to check out too.
That's great, and we'll link you in the end of the show as well. Thanks, Randy, so much. Be well, take care, and hope we get to meet again.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Derek Jordan. Thank you for joining us today on the World Fusion Show. And it's been great to have you. And please tell your friends, spread this wonderful music all over the planet. I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Mackenzie Family Charitable Trust, Chris Pratt, Nancy Feinberg, and Ron Dance for your generous support. And remember, as we always like to say on the show, think globally, listen locally, and support independent music.